Every company that's going to be successful needs a man like Bill Allen.
He had a shrewd sense of business and thoroughly understood the aerospace world, even though he was not what one would have seen as the classically trained aerospace engineer.
Bill Allen became the president of Boeing just as the government was canceling $1.5 billion in contracts with the company. The B-47 bomber was an exception. It was a plane that was taking the Air Force into the jet age. Bill Allen wanted it to do even more. In the summer of 1950, Bill Allen decided to try it out for himself. The B-47 lifted Bill Allen to an altitude thousands of feet higher than passenger planes typically traveled. And it reached speeds more than 600 miles an hour.
With the whole of Kansas spread beneath him, he had the jet experience for the first time. It was very quiet up there, and it was really transforming for him.
Bill Allen taking a ride in a B-47, seeing is believing. This is where we need to be. This is where passengers want to be. If I want to be here, passengers want to be here.
Allen became convinced that jet travel would prove irresistible to the flying public. So in 1952, Allen committed Boeing to the next step, building a prototype.
But the financial risk of designing just a one-off prototype were enormous. Manufacturers were used to having airlines order 30, 40, 50 aeroplanes, underwriting the cost of building the prototypes. Not only were they building an aeroplane, they were building a brand new type of aeroplane. So it was a colossal risk.
I mean, that was a decision which really, the whole company's future pivoted on that moment.
But convincing airlines to believe in Boeing's vision of the future was another matter. They would not be eager to abandon their fleets of propeller-driven planes and embrace expensive and unproven jets. And passengers, too, were wary of jets.
There was a lot of sort of skepticism and almost fear of jet travel. People really wondered whether that was just too fast for a human being to go, if it would somehow throw off body rhythms.
People feared traveling on planes that were using a technology that was relatively new and relatively untested.
The resistance that they met was not so much a doubt that in the end the jet age would come, but a doubt that Boeing had the solution to the jet age.
But Bill Allen was confident that Boeing's engineers understood high-speed, high-altitude flight better than anyone. They would either leapfrog the competition or end up with an airplane that nobody wanted, and nobody would pay for it. Bill Allen took the biggest financial gamble in the history of aviation. He was convinced that the propeller era was over. The swept wing was the future and the most important innovation since the Wright brothers' first flyer. Allen was committed to taking Boeing into the jet age.
The prototype 707 was one of the most extraordinary airplanes, not just in the history of the Boeing Company, but in the history of American commercial aviation.
On October 26, 1958, the 707, christened Clipper America, took off from New York, bound for Paris.
Welcome aboard the spacious cabin, attractively decorated, air-conditioned but draft-free.
We would have a caviar and champagne service, and we'd have roast beef and lobster thermidor and 2 or 3 entrees to choose from. And all through, we'd be serving really, really, really good wine.
To travel on a 707, you became what was then known as the jet set, and it was the thing to do. It was popular. The Beatles travelled on 707s. The Rolling Stones travelled on 707s. And so everybody wanted to travel on 707s.
Sinatra would sing, "Come fly with me." And it created an aura, a mystery, a magic. The jet age is a very early example of brilliant marketing. It was a great piece of show business.
For the airlines and for Boeing, this show business paid off.
Within a year, movement patterns over the North Atlantic had changed completely. You now had more people crossing the Atlantic by air than by sea, overturning a millennia's worth of ocean-going voyages.
Something new in the human experience was about to happen, in that suddenly the utility of jet travel would enable the whole world to suddenly take wing.